is going to be the bump. I hope you have your writing materials in case you get inspired by one or two information that would affect your economy and the economy of the nation. Right. So today on Citizen FM, I have a wonderful guest on the show, INVESTICULTURE, with Dr. DEE MONEY. And my guest is someone that you would like to hear from. Is someone that has been inspiring people for years. And is someone that, of course, to me, I'll say is an authority, especially in this line of thought, in this line of discussion. He is Mr. Thank God Otopa. Mr. Thank God Otopa has over 20 years of experience working in the telecom sector and, of course, in the pharmaceutical sector. He has also been into different enterprises, into different businesses. And so I feel that at this point, we have someone that when he speaks, we want to listen. When he gives us ideas, when he gives us advice, we want to listen. And today we'll be talking on the state of the economy. The state of the economy. Good morning, Mr. Tangod.
Hi, Dr. DEE MONEY. Good morning.
Good to have you on our show.
Glad to be here myself.
Yeah. How do you do today, sir?
I'm great. Fine. And you?
Yes, I'm great. Thank you very much. So, sir, there's a lot we're going to be talking about today, but I want to first start with you, and then we'll go to the state of the economy, because I'm sure everybody's interested in with the way things are going now, with the rise in the dollar, with the continued inflation, with CBN increase in interest rate and the rest of it. Everybody wants to know, how do we survive? How do we cope? But then again, let's talk about you, sir. When did you venture into your first business, and what was the experience like?
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. DEE MONEY. Okay, so talking about business, I must say that, there are two sides to the coin here.
Mm-hmm.
My first foray into business must say that while I was growing up, I was raised by an illiterate petty trader who was very entrepreneurial in her approach to things, even raising the family. She did all manner of business, ranging from petty trading, frying akara, what we known as the bean cake on the roadside, firewood, kerosene and all that. Times when she was not around, I had to fit in. I had to, keep the shop running. I had to keep the business running. It will shock you, Dr. D, that even as young as a primary school student, I could fry akara while mama was not there and all that. So that was from then. I saw my father was a civil servant, and his salary could barely, pick the bills from the table. So I saw my mother augment a great deal of what my father was doing. I'm an Idoma, and if you know Idomas, we usually many, we're like 9 and 2 other dependents, so we're like 11. So I saw, my mother investing and multiplying money, at a point making, I think, more money than my father was earning. And then, she supported us through school and all that. So that's the first part. And then I went to serve. Let me just fast forward and then finish service. Even while I was serving, the thought of, okay, there's no job, what are you going to do? I didn't want to go back to the poverty life and the life of struggle. So I was a bit restless in my thought on what to do. So I had two options. Okay, if no job, what going to do? So do business. My mother was a petty trader. And I've always believed, even growing up, that to truly fulfill your potential and be really successful, paid employment cannot take you there. So I started out, I picked up a job, fortunately, the year I finished. But that same year, I set up a business. I set up multi-cleaners, a laundry firm, because I believed that, that was something I could combine with what I was doing, working.
What year was that?
That was 99.
99.
That was 99. I started out in Kaduna, and then, Abuja was just imploding or coming up. So at a point, we migrated from the laundry to facility and janitorial services. I moved into Abuja. We had our struggles, of course, the initial challenge with startups and all of that. But after a while, we got crossed that line, and we got some businesses. We started. I got in another company in. We needed to diversify. We needed to have the retail arm, and we needed to have the corporate arm. And of course, I came up with DTech Facility Services, which its focus was the corporate clients, and of course, multi-cleaners, the retail clients. House, spring cleaning, fumigation, all this call up, to do some cleaning for a period and all of that. And then we started off from there. I saw the value coming. I was encouraged with the fact that I had, had to employ people, people that hitherto had no a source of income. So apart from the value we're creating, apart from the bottom line that was also going up, I was pretty encouraged with the fact that there are a lot of people that you've picked up from the street or from homes that were not earning anything, and you are giving them, a reason to earn some income. And then after that, we went into other things. Went into school, went into mining at a point, went into fertilizer business, and all of that. So, we made sure things, putting those things together, we made sure that, we just kept going. And then those values my mother, taught me, I began to give expression to it, right, while I was also working on the sideline. Right.
Great, sir. This is quite inspiring. You had mentioned so many businesses that you are going into, and I heard you talking about at some point you were mining. What were you mining?
Well, they call it tin and columbite. I stumbled into that particularly because I never had prior experience, but someone who had told me about it, and I made my inquiries, licensing and all of that, and then we went into it. I didn't spend, because it's an area, it's not my forte, I didn't spend quite a while there, but essentially because also I'm not saying people get employed, people, I enjoy the fact that when you have a pool of people working and they have some sort of regular income, as opposed to touch and go, as permit me to use that phrase. So I wasn't so keen in going further, So it's more like a venture. Yeah. So,
sir, that this is to say that you've tried your hands on a couple of businesses, you've tried your hands on a couple of sectors. Apparently, you would have made some successes in certain businesses, and there are certain businesses that probably you wouldn't have done quite well. What lessons did you pick from those things that you feel you could share with us? Like some of the, like mining, you said you didn't quite do much. So what happened?
Okay, so I think the first two things anyone going into business should consider is one, knowledge, and secondly, do you love what you're going into? Those two things, I'm sure, guide. I'm a very intuitive person. I'm driven by instinct. So when I was going into this, number one, I said to myself, thank God, look, you don't have sufficient knowledge about this industry, and could it be the thought of the feeling of greed, just trying to also pick something from where you've not ventured into before? Then yes, fine, it didn't turn out well the way I expected. Also, I think with looking back now, I think maybe because I wasn't passionate about it, it wasn't something I truly loved. It wasn't something I was knowledgeable about. So I think people should, what they have knowledge of. Number two, are you going to be passionate? Are you passionate about that? if you don't, if these questions, if you can't tick these boxes,
because the passion would drive you.
Yes, it would drive you. I just, I delegated it to someone, a friend of mine. Say, look, there's the funds, you go into it and all that, without sufficient, Let me share this. I was discussing with someone yesterday who mentioned the fact that, he went into a particular business and he said, look, I invested 80 million naira. He did then in dollars about 30-something dollars when the exchange was very friendly. And he said the value of that thing today is about 15 million. I was pretty encouraged with some of the losses I've also made sometime along the, the part of investment and all that. And he said, look, you win some and you gain some.
Right.
That taught him a big lesson because it was an area he also didn't have sufficient knowledge. He was sitting right on his desk in the office and someone brought the idea and he took that sum, that much sum.
Oh,
and he
that
said,
was huge.
yes, that was huge. But he said some worked out. He mentioned some of the businesses that worked out, some investment in real estate, property he bought and had appreciated and all of that. So, I've come to realize that while the business terrain is a very tough, landscape, as much as possible, you win some, you gain some.
Yeah.
Right? But concern and your focus, my focus or your focus should be that you should minimize your losses and ensure that you maximize your gain. But losses surely will always come.
So when going into business, one of the things as citizens we should learn is there will be losses, there will be gains. However, none of this is permanent. However, one of the things that has also been said is the fact that you need to, before you go into any business, you need to have passion. You need to have knowledge. Knowledge is key. Look, like I've always said on this show, knowledge is key. Even if it's a business that you don't have so much knowledge about, by the time you venture into it, you need to improve even on the knowledge you already have. You need to have more knowledge for you to stay in that business. And of course, if you are passionate about it, even when things are going down, you will still be motivated to stay in. So thanks so much for these ideas, for these tips that you've given us this morning. But I was going to ask you, all of this, you have not told us your area of discipline. You told me you went for NYSC. So you've not told us your area of discipline. I'm interested in knowing if you invested even in your own area of discipline.
Okay, so my discipline as I'm a graduate of economics. I have a master's with a bias in entrepreneurship.
No wonder.
Yes, and Dr. DEE MONEY, to interest you to know that sometimes fate has its parts. When somebody asks, you did entrepreneurship at master's level, I say yes, but you know what? Even though I've always been passionate about entrepreneurship, I think it was fate, because when we're asked to choose, it was marketing, there was accounting. I just said, no, guy, you know what? I got there and they said marketing was field. I said, what is left was entrepreneurship. I said, yes, that's my fault. That's my, and that's how I got into it. So that's my discipline. And okay, so as a student of economics or a graduate of economics, you're trained, or you are schooled to make rational decision based on various alternatives, presented to you, driven by your scale of preference and all of that. So permit me to say I'm a trained thinker. I'm trained to look at options and pick the ones that will give me better value, what will give me better satisfaction, better profit, better returns on my investment. So going straight to the question, have I tried things in my discipline? I think all I've done is also tied to what I have.
Of course. So for someone that studied economics and entrepreneurship, I don't need to ask you any question. You're already practicing what you. All right. So you mentioned there was a part where you mentioned that a friend of yours invested about 80 million naira, as at the time that the exchange rate was friendly, right? Like 36 naira to $1.
No.
Okay.
He said it was about 180 then. Okay,
180. Yes. And of course, we are seeing what is happening. It just like, permit me to say, the dollar has been rising like a Mijabugari from from Monday till yesterday. I don't know how much it is today, but as of yesterday, I think it was hovering around 712 to 715. So this brings me to the question: what could have been the cause, from your own perspective? What could have been the cause of the free fall? And that's what I would say, free fall of the naira. What could have been the cause? What do you think could be a way out? Especially because I'm talking to an economist now. So like I've said that on this show, you're an authority. Whatever you say is something we hold on to as a key point.
Okay, I think there are two ways to look at it. One, from the global scene, we've seen a couple of economic crises, by big nations, especially as a fallout from the COVID experience, further heightened by the war in Russia, between Russia and Ukraine, especially with the imploding food crisis around the world. And of course, you and I know that the standard of any currency around the world, backed up by gold, is defined by the dollar, right? So anything that impacts, America as a country generally will trickle down to other countries. So, and then of course you realize that the convergence of what I might say opinion, so to speak, or agreement by the G8. You lately will discover that those countries are not aligning on a lot of, economic, military, front. So you find out that there are discordant tones in terms of among the big guys that should shape the economy of the world. And then I must say also that when Okonjo-Iweala, our own very, Amazon, was elected, we had so much hope, especially as it relates to international trades and return and all that, So with all that not adding up due to, post-COVID, Russia and Ukrainian war, so you find out a lot of, I was talking, the same person I was talking to you about yesterday just came back from Ghana, left a job to pick up a job in Nigeria, and he said, Ghana also, the city is on a free fall as well. And you go to most countries, they have some, percentage of inflation, even though ours also, it's worrisome, all right? So that's number one. Number two, I think the wrong fiscal and I think monetary policies, I think with due respect to the managers of our economy, I must admit, the frequent changes, in fiscal policies, yes, you hear today they want to do this with BDC, tomorrow, just issue, economic policy became like issuing just working out and issuing press statements. It's like trial and error. In all cases. Sometimes I read these things in the paper, I listen to CBN, spokesman. Like, what's happening?
Just like textbook economics.
Yes, you just come out to read out something the next day, it's not working. Like somebody goes back and knock the door and says, oh God, this is not working. I say, sorry. And, and all that. So, we do respect to them, but, nobody has got all the answers to the question. So I think the somersault in our policies, changes because you see the economy. All economies strive on perception to a large extent.
Right.
If people feel, you are not consistent with your policies, the investors, people will be a bit, reluctant. People will treat you, with some sense of suspect, So, but let me also say, what do we do out of this? I think I will be speaking to individuals here because the situation is biting hard on individuals. You have
seriously biting hard.
People are not able to put food on the table. Students who have gotten admission to school outside the shores are finding it difficult to buy dollars. I had this friend who was quite unsettled yesterday. I think if I'm not mistaken, his BDC guide, he showed me a text, was touching 620, 628 yesterday. 728, 720, 728. I don't know how true that is, but I think the issue is we need to come back, and each individual need to know what will work out for them to come out of this impasse, so to speak. And I think number one thing is to think of investment. I don't know, is to think of investment and how much you can do to earn foreign currency. It might look tough, but there are the the social media is a highway of getting information on how to get, opportunities, that can help you either to trade, do stuff that can, give you money. I have a brother who earns dollar online. He runs a blog. He does other stuff online. He sells on Amazon, and he's earning, and he's been able to encourage even his other siblings to save. Try and earn in dollars, because no economy would thrive if your import, excessively exceed. If your import excessively exceed
your export,
no country. So, and it begins with the individuals that make up that country. So you and I must sit down. What can I do in the global space? The internet has made so much, made life so easy. If you can actually, understand the role the internet is meant to play around, even in your own personal life. So as much as possible, I think beyond the WhatsApp story, chatting and all of that, beyond the Instagram flip and all that, we need to go beyond that and begin to seek for opportunities on how to earn, this dollar. And as much as we do, as individuals collectively, the aggregation of the people will amount to, the foreign exchange that we're able to bring in and what value we're able to, give out, and the balance of trade eventually, even though it's very unhealthy now, will begin to, get addressed. So I think it begins with individual, apart from, just sitting and complaining and, mourning and all of that. And on the part of the government, I must also say there's a need for the government to bring a college of people, put together a team that are versatile. People, who have both knowledge of international economics, knowledge of local, economics. People who have proven their mettle in various areas.
Because some things that work in a certain country might not work because we have peculiar environment, we have our own peculiar challenges and situations. I think that's also part of the problem. You mentioned unstable policies, especially fiscal policies, because sometimes you say, oh, this thing is working in the United States, let's try it here. It doesn't mean that it will work that way.
At all.
I just wanted to chip in that to what you were saying.
I recall when we were in school and we're trying to define, types of economy, and then someone say Nigeria is a capitalist, is a capitalist economy, and someone say no, it's a mixed economy, and all that. So it became another school of thought and argument back and forth on all that. That is anything like mixed economy, and the truth is that our economy is quite peculiar, and so it's not one size fits all that can work or could work in this country. So we must have our own germane, very specific, tailor-made, policies, fiscal that will tie into the global economy, policies around the world to give us what is required. And I can't overemphasize the fact that we need to have people, there's a particular administration that had what we call the economic team. And if you recall in your recent memory, the economic team was made up of intellectuals, people who have proven their mettle variously in aspects they have handled. Unlike today, what we have, it's not a one-man show. Somebody should be able to tell you, hi, this thing is not working. It's not a kitchen affair.
Thank you so much. Honestly, even personally, I've gained a lot. If you're just joining us, this is InvestiCulture with Dr. DEE Money on Top Radio, Citizen FM 93.7 Abuja. We have been talking with Mr. Tangod Otokwa, who has been, giving us inspirations, who has been giving us answers to some of those questions that has been burgeoning in our minds. And we'll be right back after this short break. Don't go anywhere.
Spain, the first global superpower, the home of Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and Barcelona, center of festivals La Fiesta, and home of bullfights, Spain, that gave humanity Pablo Picasso and the first modern novel Don Quixote. To discuss these and Spain in general, please join us this Friday, the 29th of July 2022, between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. on Diplomatic Hour with Away Lakemfa on Citizen FM 93.7 Abuja. The likable Spanish ambassador in Nigeria, His Excellency Juan Cell, will be our guest. The interview will also be broadcast live on YouTube and on Facebook. On YouTube, kindly search for Citizen FM 93.7, and on Facebook, kindly search for Away Lakemfa. Diplomatic Hour with Away Lakemfa, stretching our minds beyond borders.
Welcome back to the show. This is INVESTICULTURE with Dr. DEE MONEY on Top Radio 93.7 Citizen FM, Abuja. We have been talking with Mr. Tango Dotopa, and he has been, giving us insights on the state of the economy. Especially we're talking about the Naira, what's the cause for the free fall, and of course what are the solutions, which we have been discussing about. And one of the things he said is that it's not just peculiar to Nigeria. He also gave us instances of even Ghana facing serious inflation, and I think we are hearing pointers of a global economic recession coming up, especially starting from the US. So the point now is, what can we do as citizens to stay afloat, to survive, to be able to keep up with all of this that is going on? And one of the things he has said is invest, which is what we have always campaigned about on this show. Invest. Like I used to say, yes, it's not everybody that will do business, but if you're not going to be doing business, invest in a business, invest in it in the right way. And you also mentioned the fact that we can try to earn in the dollar. So, sir, coming back to the point of discussion, you talked about we trying to see if we can sit down here in Nigeria and earn in foreign currencies. One of those investment tips, the ideas, you talked about blogging. Could you do? I don't know if any other one comes to mind.
Yes, so I talked about blogging, and I talked about trading on various e-commerce platforms.
Yeah.
You know that, of course, the big e-commerce companies, most of them don't even have, they don't
have a store, they don't have anything, they just use people to, and that's why it's called a marketplace.
That's it. And Nigeria must admit that even globally we're recognized in also, developing technologies that have supported this advances or these developments across the globe. It's just that, of course, we don't get to use it. You see a guy who has developed some very good app, in Lagos or somewhere around the country, and it's taken out the country, and these guys will blow it, give it another name and all. So back to your questions, of course, blogging is one of it. Our artists, to some of them are making a kill, especially during the lockdown. Yeah. People streaming, their videos, their music online, right? YouTube. I mean, I know people I know someone who's earning over $10,000, being on YouTube and just doing some funny things and just, what our comedians are doing. Now, frankly speaking, if you sit down and then begin to search, and I need to emphasize this because we have a lot of young folks who have left school, who are blaming their uncles and holding their parents responsible for their being at home and say, Daddy, you're not getting me a job and you're not doing much and all that. And each time I talk to young fools or I talk to citizens, I say to them, there are two types of laziness. I, for one, can stand when a man is physically lazy. There is hope for that man. You can say, hey, stand up, get the chair, take your bath and go out. But Dr. DEE Money, when someone is mentally lazy, I mean, it takes so much to get that person out of that coven, so to speak. I use the word coven loosely because I mean it's something that is hidden. It's something that needs to be unearthed. So you find out that a lot of us are mentally lazy, and a lot of Nigerians are physically smart, agile, but mentally lazy.
Mentally lazy.
Yes. If you look, I've been to places and I've gotten people to start something, that the opportunities were there, they never got to see it. Now, if you stay in an environment, one of the ways, before even going to think of earning dollars, what is it in my environment I need to create to, value? Because, I mean, profit thrives on the canvas of value, right? So, what value will I create, right? This man, does he need to go this far to get this, for instance? No. Right? What can I showcase? I produce this. Okay, I'll give you an instance. I have a lady who lives in Kaduna, and then she realized her husband works in Lagos, and she realizes that this ginger stuff and all that, the guys from Lagos, they buy a lot of it, beans, the northern beans, and all those things, aya, tiger nuts, what we call aya, and she started selling it online and all that. Today, those things are on the global platform, right? People are placing order, right? Even our art crafts. I mean, I have a lady called Jasmine. She on her platform, on her Instagram handle, she posts her, she makes this batik, very nice. I mean, very creatively nice. And she called me last month and she said, you know what? I got a call from America, someone who private chatted me, who was in the US, sent me his their company profile, and are willing to sponsor her, apply for visa for her to come and train, do like 6 months training for some Black American on African art and crafts and all that. And she said, from what I see, you are quite busy now. Give us the time so they'll know when to apply for the visa. All expense paid trip. Tell us your term. You want to get your lawyers involved? She called me and she was screaming on top of her voice. Why? Because when she started it, I said, look, you have a great gift, right? You have a great gift. So just keep doing what you are doing. Just keep doing. And I mean, today she's gotten a global opportunity. And if she gets there, of course, she'll be paid in dollars. Of course. Right? So the platform, the social media handles, the platforms it present, just for you to sit and begin to check. I give you an instance. TikTok is a small, short video, app. Just shows you, the algorithm will tell what you like or what you want to be seeing. Can you just click on, choose things that gives opportunity, check for hashtag that shows opportunity to earn, online, opportunities to create value, and you begin to see those videos, and you can actually begin to leverage on these things. And the opportunity is so humongous.
There's so much talking point this morning on this show. If you joining us, this is INVESTICULTURE with Dr. DEE Money on Top Radio Citizen FM 93.7 Abuja. I've been speaking with Mr. Tango Dotopa, and he's been opening our eyes to things that we can do, even as citizens, to stay balanced, even though the economy, which is not just peculiar to Nigeria, the economy of the world itself, it's in a state of quagmire. However, there's still things that people still do. So while you are crying and complaining and murmuring, some people are still cashing in or cashing out, despite the fact that we are saying that the economy is not going on well. And how do you be like those people? And this is what we have been talking about on the show. He has talked about so many things. He has talked about, even with the little that you're doing here, be good at it, be better at it, and put it out there, let people see. You just mentioned a lady who is back there in Kaduna, and she's already an export commodity. She's into art and crafts, and they are reaching out to her to say, please, we're going to do all the paperwork, come to America, come and stay here for 6 months, train people, we're going to pay you in dollars. And this person is in Nigeria. So this is part of what we have been discussing this morning. And I don't know if you have questions, if you want to call in, if you want to send your texts, your messages in, you can still join the show. The number is 0808 2222 2222 205 0818, pardon me, 0818 2222 205 0818 2222 205. This is Investiculture with Dr. DEE MONEY on Citizen FM at 3.7. All right, sir. So we have talked about the fact that we need to assemble an economic team of people that are vast in international economics, people that have a very sound understanding of the local Nigerian economics. Maybe when we assemble this team, they will be able to rescue us from this situation that we are. But I'm still going back to the dollar. Okay. We have heard of situations where people say one of the problems and the causes of the dollar hike and the hike in the exchange rate is because many Nigerians hold on to physical dollars. Many, especially Nigerian politicians, especially from the two top major parties of the country, they use the dollar to pay delegates, to bribe delegates to vote for them. I don't know, personally, I was not a delegate, although I wish I was one of them. I would have, maybe if I had collected, I would have known if... but then again, do you think, because I'm also of the school of thought that it should be criminal for us to spend the physical dollar. If at all there's anything we need to do with the dollar, I think that's part of why we're supposed to have a domiciliary account. Just to make the essence of having the dollar is to make foreign payments, offshore payments. I don't think there's any shop in Nigeria I want to buy anything and they ask me to pay in dollars. And then most Nigerians are having these dollars stashed in their houses, and because of this, so I don't know if I am correct. I just feel that could this also be part of the problem?
Okay, yes, I totally agree with you, Dr. DEE MONEY. First of all, I must say the underlying cause of the dollar taking a very, very free fall is largely due to corruption, right? And suffice it to note that the Act setting up the CBN clearly makes it clear that it's illegal for the dollar to serve as a legal tender or as a form of exchange in a country as much as possible. So, having said that is illegal by the act setting on the CBN, that regulates the economy to have dollars exchange, but not also that economy in corruption has fueled a lot of this. I mean, how can someone have? We've seen recent cases, very humongous amount of money being taken, and when this guy take this money, because of the size and the depression of the naira, they want to change it to dollar. Now I've even come to find out that a lot of people in some quarters now will tell you, whatever you're giving me has to be in dollars. It's getting institutionalized, and not until punitive measures are taken, until our justice system rises to the occasion to begin to bring people to book with respect to this. It's just the beginning, right? Why even you have public servant demanding, say, look, no, whatever, if you collect in naira, I must get in dollars. Why? Because it's easy, because of the portability, and because of the fact that, okay, you keep dollars. I mean, it's like the best way to save. So as long as we have so much, in the hands of a politician, and our justice system does not go all out to punish offenders of economic crimes, people will keep amassing dollars. And then the deficit of the dollar will always cry out in the economy, and with the ripple multiply effects on the economy down to the common man. I mean, people should ask questions. We have today some civil servant that have, to say $10 million is nothing for some people. Transfer that to naira. Compare what that person would have earned as a civil servant all his life. and the man has 10 million, has $20 million, has $100 million, and nobody's asking question. And even though if I belong to a political party and I go for delegates election and I hear that they are sharing dollar, the system must be able to call to question why, how. If you put up a blind, facade, just say, okay, I don't care. I mean, it will come back to haunt us. So today, as a build-up to the election next year, people also begin to, okay, let's keep more of it, let's not release. So we are seeing scarcity of it, ceteris paribus, all things being equal. As long as that keeps happening, there will be a free fall because, our politicians are so drunk, trying to get power. I mean, at any costs, right? And I mean, it clearly, the citizens must be aware of the fact that, look, we must be conscious of the fact that the next election, the people will put in power, not people who are excessively drunk, looking for power. Because they know that the economy is the pipe, is the drain to fuel such adventure. I mean, so if we do not get back and our justice system to begin to punish, to begin to bring to book some transactions that, we look the other way, I mean, we can.
There's no end in sight to this challenges that we are experiencing, because people have said that we should be looking towards the dollar closing at maybe 900 to 1,000. To 1,000 naira, and I don't think this would be good on every other thing around us. Let's look at people that are doing legitimate transactions, not necessarily those that are importing and exporting. Let's look at people that are doing legitimate transactions, like people that are buying, doing online payments for things that maybe services, online services that are not Nigerian based, that are abroad, like people that use the Apple Pay and the rest of them. Let's also look at people that are paying for tuition fee for their children abroad. Let's look at people that are going for surgery, for treatments abroad. Let's look at people that have certain things that they want to be doing, and everybody will be affected. Because if you want to tell me now that people should stay back here and go to school, why do they have to go to school abroad? ASU has been on strike since February 14th, and then of course we also have challenges in our health in our sector. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that people still have legitimate reasons to need to require the dollar being stable, as far as I am concerned. So I feel that if we are not careful with the way the things are going now, it might affect every one of us. Because even some of these things that we buy in our markets today, some of them are being imported. We are a consuming nation. Most of the things that we are consuming here are even being imported. So if that is the case, you can see even the cars we drive on our roads are brought from there. So as far as I'm concerned, it's worrisome, and we are already seeing the ripple effects on our economy today. And that's part of why I said today we need to discuss about. But sir, if you're in a position, of course, I can assure you, even the government, they are listening to this show. If you're in a position to advise the government as an economic expert on how we could solve some of these problems, what would your advice be?
Okay, there's no straight line solution to this problem. Like I've said, and I still want to maintain, we need to bring together a team of people. I might have a line of thought. Right, I give you an instance. The best buildings around the world, you have a collection of consultants, engineers who come every morning, look at the drawing, critique one another and say, this is not working. Look at it this way. And you'll be amazed how your ideas are enhanced, are honed when you have a critique on your thoughts and somebody shows you another perspective. Now, this is what I'm saying. Now, no man has a straight line jacket to solving a problem. So if I sit in a position and I will say, this is what I would do, I will bring people from various sectors, like I've mentioned earlier, and say, this is it. What do we want to achieve becomes the statement problem. So, okay, want to increase our productive capacity to strengthen the naira. One, for instance, because I must admit here that there's no how you can strengthen your naira if you're a largely consuming nation without productive capacity and the propensity to also export those products, right? So under this element, right, of improving our productive capacity, what are those factors that will engender, a robust productive capacity for a country? One of it is policies, fiscal policies. Number two is security. The stability. No man wants to take his money to a place where you are not sure the roof will be brought down the next day. Right? So, number two, you begin to segment and give responsibility to that. Say, Mr. President or Mr. Soso, this is what we think we need here. This is what we need here. So, we've been able to address productive capacity. Right? Now, the next thing, because of course the ripple effect of having productive capacities across, it will generate employment. These people are engaged. China has become what it is today largely because, the rate of unemployment is largely negligible compared to the size of their population in relative terms to other countries that you could compare to that size. So clearly, bringing the right people together, and then having the humility to take critique as much as possible to say, this is not working. Let's go back and change it. Not trying to give it some political coloration or try to make it look or try to sell it or try to do what we call above the line, whatever to, and all of that.
Right. So if we say we should go on and on, there's so much to learn. There's so much points to pick from what you've been saying. So once again, I just want to appreciate you for making out time to be on the show today. I also want to thank everyone who was sitting back at home listening to this show. I want to thank my producer for today, Kem. Thank you so much, sir, for this insight that you've given to us. I hope you know that I would always want to bring you back again because we cannot exhaust this topic. But until, of course, next week Friday, same time, same station. Please do have a nice day. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you, Dr. DEE Money.
All right, sir. Yes, and I am Dr. DEE Money, and this is InvestiCulture. Have a nice weekend.